Hey, Restorers, welcome to this episode of the Restoration Today podcast. I have two probably very familiar faces with me today. I'm very excited. I have Miss Beth Thompson from Core Group. She's the VP of Events, and Ryan Pritchard from PSA. He's the VP of Sales and Marketing. We are here to talk about events in general, but also a new collaboration for 2025 between the Collective by Core and PSA's user conference. I know PSA has been very strategic over the years of picking partner shows to try to host their user conference with to bring added value to their users. And the Collective is a great show to team up with. So that's what 2025 looks like. So Beth, I'm going to toss it over to you first to kind of introduce yourself and share a little bit about what the Collective is.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me and Ryan today on the podcast. So what is the Collective? For anyone who has not attended, Collective is Core's annual user conference. 2025 will be our fifth conference. It is industry-wide. So they're all are welcome to participate and to attend. We obviously want to grow and we want more people to experience the Collective. So we are basically a 3-day format. We have people come in for a welcome. We have the main stage, the breakouts, all the components of your general conference, and we really like to have a good time. So we kind of pull out all the stops on our evening activities and really try to meet all the various needs that of anybody who would attend a conference. So we are very excited this year to collaborate with PSA. PSA will come in on the front of the week and then we'll be on the back end of the week, but they will flow right into each other. So we're real excited about that collaboration together this year.
Perfect. Okay, so really quick, I want to dive into something that you just said. You said it's open to the whole industry. So what do you tell people who are like, I'm not a core member? What is the value to me to check out your event if I'm not actually part of core in general?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that. That was actually something Ryan mentioned on one of our planning calls previously, that a lot of other industry shows are very exclusive to their members. We are absolutely not. We are wide open to the industry. We want contractors, we want carriers, we want all players in the industry to participate. We think it's a lot of what we do is really wanting to acknowledge and work better together with all the different people in the industry. So in order to do that, we have to all have time together. And what I found in my many, many years of events is that when you come and spend time in person with people, we actually just got done with our internal focus retreat. And it just gives you an added empathy and perspective when you spend time with people in person and you see them as humans and people. And so I do think it's very important that we have those times at events together with all those different players in the industry so that we can maximize and continue to move forward as an industry.
Perfect. Okay, Ryan, I'm going to kick it over to you to introduce yourself a little bit and talk about your user conference, what it is, who it's for, all those good things.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks, Michelle, for having us. For us, this will be the 27th annual user conference that we've had. Yeah, and it's always been one of the highlights for at least our users to kind of come out and take a look at technology, how it's evolving, understand best practices, and of course, collaborate and network with their peers, other contractors. For us, again, much like Beth was saying, we try and make it software agnostic. Certainly PSA as a software vendor, there's going to be discussion and topics on what we're doing. But as a vendor fair, we bring any technologies that are available in the industry. Some of them are collaborative partners. Some of them are just independent software technologies and tools that we truly believe can benefit the contractor. Mm-hmm. And we want an opportunity for people to get hands-on, network with these people, have conversations, get to see things in action that are going to help them and their businesses become more efficient, have their people more accountable, and hopefully become more profitable. And I mean, that's something that, when we look at collaborating with other events in the industry, we really want to ask ourselves, what are we going to give back to the contractor? There's so many events during the year. What can we give back to help contractors out, whether it's through best practices, giving them information on technology, helping them connect with their peers. And because we're agnostic, anyone in the industry is able to come. If you're a brand new person starting out who wants to learn the ropes, or if you've been in the industry for decades and decades and you want to kind of hone in on those best practices or that secret sauce, that's out there that gives them the opportunity to take some of that value back to their office with them.
There might be more need than ever with the number of technology options out there. We were talking about state of the industry offline, and that was like a number one thing with technology restorers saying there are way too many options. How do I see through the options and choose what's best for my company? So to be able to see them all in one place, I know that the collective always has a lot of technology vendors on the show floor, and then I know PSA will as well. So if you're trying to see through those weeds, you're not alone. And these are good opportunities to meet these companies in person instead of maybe trying to do Zoom calls. Like you can see a bunch all at once instead of trying to figure it out one by one, which can be a lot to go through. So,
Totally.
okay, I want to talk a little bit about, all three of us have been both on the vendor and attendee side of shows. So from your perspective, Beth, I'll kick this to you first. From your perspective, what is the number one thing you think that attendees or contractors are looking for in an event to go to?
So I think that what an attendee or that is a contractor is looking for is, well, there's more than one thing they're looking for in my opinion. They're looking for value in content. So I think one thing that's really important is that it's not the repeat content at every show. I think that's something that's hard in our industry, is that we are a small industry. So we see a lot of the same people, and there are some very talented, many very talented, but it's important to stay. You don't want to go, a contractor doesn't want to invest in 4 different shows and have 4 of the same messages. So for us, that's something we try to stay on top of, and having really new and forward-thinking content that provides value for each contractor that's there. We also really encourage people to bring their teams. What we would love is for people to come as a team and have an experience where you kind of are experiencing a lot of different things. You're going to have the night activities where you just have a good time together and you meet other people in other companies and in the industry. You may or may not end up in the hotel swimming pool. I don't know, Michelle.
No comment.
Just kidding.
We're not kidding, but that's fine.
I know. Oops.
All right.
So anyway, you also have the opportunity to, like for this past year, we really spend a lot of time selecting a keynote that is going to be highly engaging, highly inspirational, but also practical. So I think a lot of the teams that experienced that together this year, it was really special, and it kind of sparked some good conversation for just growth and how to be collaborative as a company, because the stronger we are individually and then together, then the stronger we are obviously as a company and out in the industry. So I think that what a contractor looks for is good content, opportunity to network, and a little bit of a good time. So those are the things we really try to make sure we include when we're going through the planning process.
It's also in Austin. I mean, come on, right?
It is.
So
a little bit hot, but we pushed it back to August again this year. So hopefully, I don't know, probably not. It's just going to be hot, but Austin's cool. You're right.
It is cool, and it's
keep it weird and sweaty in Austin.
Good barbecue.
Try to incorporate some more fan. That's
why people end up in the pool. It's fine.
That's right.
Yes. Yes. Ryan, anything you want to add to that from the attendee perspective?
Yeah, I think we touched on this obviously offline beforehand, but one of the things that I find I don't see enough of at industry events and networking events is that there's not enough opportunities to listen. And that's something that for our event, and Beth was mentioning this as well, that we're not there just to dish out a whole bunch of content with our hands over our ears. It's really a collaborative event. And when we say collaboration, we mean frontline people telling us what they want to see, what can help them get better value for that next event, and actually having the people that are coordinating the event listen as to how do we do things better? How can we incorporate more industry experts or key panelists or industry discussions in there where people feel heard? Like, these are the things that I have questions about and I want to learn about. But a lot of times you go to an event and you're like, maybe there's 2 things that I care about on the agenda. And then what do I do the rest of the time? So at least from our perspective, not only do we try and listen at every aspect of whether it's, roundtable events where people actually get up to a microphone and give suggestions to the panelists, but also the opportunity to have different tracks where it's not one size fits all. There's a whole bunch of different avenues where, to Beth's point, if I'm going to bring a team, my team may be at a whole bunch of different events that are catered to that individual in my business, from the owner to a general manager to the frontline worker, right? There should be some value or return on investment for everyone that shows up at that event. And so I think it's so important that as much as we're there to provide content, that there are opportunities for us to listen to what people want so that they come back next year and want even more, and the event grows and becomes bigger because of it.
And I will, to add on to that, one thing that I can want to speak to in regards to core is one thing you can bet your bottom dollar, or whatever people say, whatever that is that we're always going to listen and receive the feedback, positive and negative, and year over year try to improve. It's who we are. It's what we want to do. We want people to come to our event and feel like they really got a lot out of it. And if they don't, we want to know why. And we're going to work to make that better. We did have a lot of, and I think in the industry at large, there's a lot of conversations about just vendors really seeing an ROI in a lot of the events. And so I view it from obviously an event planner perspective, and I look at it from probably two lenses, I would say primarily. One is we've got to solve that. We've got to figure out how to flip the trade show on its head so it's not just the standard experience. We've got to find new ways to help people connect with each other and really make vendors feel seen, heard, valued, and a huge part of what we're doing. The second part of that is the vendor has got to come into an event when we've teed it up and make it what they need to make it for their business. Because we can create opportunity as far and wide as possible, but really what the individual company comes to, what attitude they bring to the show is what they're going to kind of get out of the show. So I think it's one of those things that's almost like it can, energy is contagious. Positive energy is contagious, negative energy is contagious. I think we're in kind of this period of vendors are a little more frustrated than I've seen them in years past. And so I think what we've done, I'll tell you what CORE has done. So we've taken 4 to 5 vendor partners that we've had year over year, and we created basically a committee of people, and we've been meeting regularly and just diving into how can we make this better? What do we need to do? What are we not seeing? What are new ideas? And so for us, we're going to have some radical changes this year, and I'm very hopeful that they'll be very positive as a whole. We are going to have an immersive trade show. So what that means is you're going to walk out of Lone Star and there's going to be booths all in the hallway. You're going to be in the middle of it. There is no escaping. Everybody's going to be there together. So some of the feedback we got was people felt like there was a lot going on the 3rd floor, and then they have to go down to the 2nd floor. And it was kind of like, just there, that was not a positive experience for some people. So we looked at, okay, how can we take that on and make it better? So we have several ideas. Obviously the immersive, we're going to have streamlined booths this year. So there won't be as much like shipping expense in, because we're going to work with the individual companies to streamline their booth and design with us so that we can have that. They won't have to ship anything except just the tchotchkes and swag and all that good stuff. So that's another thing. And then we're also creating some vendor commercials where vendors will go in before breakouts, and they'll have the opportunity to stand in front of the contractors and basically give a 60-second, hey, this is who we are, this is what we're about. So and then there's other things. I'll leave some to some mystery, but what I want to convey is that we are listening and we are all on the same team. Like, we want to make it better. One more quick thing I want to debunk about events, and then I'll pass it to you, Brian, because I know I'll talk until y'all make me stop, is that events are very, very costly. Something that I think people don't understand is we are not we are not in it to make money. We do not make $1 on the collective. We invest in the event to create an experience for people in our industry, because we're passionate about events and we're passionate about people and we're passionate about our industry. And so we really, really work hard, and I mean hard, to figure out a way to make the best experience for everyone involved. and to break even. That's our goal at the end of the day. Last year we didn't. That's just to be very transparent. We did not. And so it is a very tricky thing. Things are way more costly than people realize. If you have a nice screen, you're looking at $150,000, $200,000. F&B is no joke. And it's per person. And so those things just really add up. So I think what I want to make sure that people also understand, just because what you don't know, is that CORE really makes an investment into this event to bring it to the industry. And we hope that people recognize that we want this to be something that people really feel invested in.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Perfect. So, okay. Go ahead, Ryan.
Well, the only thing I was going to add, because Beth touched on it, and I didn't want to, re-elaborate what she said, but I think the idea from a lot of vendors that we see out there, being a vendor myself, is that the trade show hall is not a cage or prison. You're allowed to walk outside of it. You're allowed to network and be, partaking in all the event. And I think what Beth and the team at PSA is trying to do is, how do we incorporate this idea of collaboration with the vendors as well? You can't always have people standing up at the front of the room giving a 60-minute talk. There's just not enough time in the day. But there are a ton of opportunities to collaborate with vendors, whether it's through the after hours events or the early morning, coffee with the vendors and setting up, private rooms and meetings. Like, you get out of an event what you put into it. And that's the same for the people who are putting on the event as the people participating. And so if you want more of those opportunities, not only is the feedback important, but you have to engage. I mean, we can only show you the door. You have to walk through it.
Yes. Okay, so Ryan, keep going on that thread a little bit. Okay, so 27 years of a user conference, and you've been to a lot of industry shows as a vendor. So give a few pointers to other vendors in the industry to get some of that ROI that they're looking for as being a vendor at a show, because it does take more than, there could be a ton of attendees, but if you are sitting in your booth like a bump on a log and not talking to anybody and not participating in anything, you're probably not going to get the ROI that you're seeking. You do need to put a little bit into it. You put into it where you get out. So as a vendor, what would you recommend?
I would say people don't take advantage of the preemptive letting customers know you're going to be at an event. Like, people wait till they're there and go like, well, everyone should know I'm here. I'm here every year. But there are a lot of opportunities where you can be marketing to, hey, this is our marketing calendar. I know CNR has a great marketing calendar online that lets people know where are you going to be. And having something to encourage people to come see you, whether it's not just check us out at a trade show, but hey, we're having this raffle, or we're having this, discussion. Of course, trade show approved. If you work with that vendor to say, hey, I'd like to do something maybe in the morning, it's not going to conflict with the existing events. There are a lot of opportunities if you give the vendor and the show enough time to plan with you and to collaborate. Certainly, you don't want to hijack something at the last minute. I also think that there's a lot of great networking opportunities that do exist outside of the trade show environment. Beth mentioned like the welcome reception, the after hours parties, the early morning get-togethers and coffees. Those, I would say, if not more valuable than the trade show, are probably in line with it, because people are more free to talk at liberty when they're not like shoulder to shoulder going down an aisle where they got 30 minutes to get through this hall and there's only so many people they can talk to. So for us, it's always looking at like what can happen before, what can happen after, what can happen during, right? There's a lot of opportunities. People are going there to take every minute of their day and figure out, how am I going to spend this time, whether it's through meetings or events. And so time management and certainly planning ahead are keys for vendors who get the most out of these events. And then because, the same vendors are at a lot of these shows, why not team up with a couple of vendors, and make your own little collaborations, inside of the event. I think far too long there have been these barriers where everyone tries to stay in their own lane, but nobody wants to play nice together. And I think given the opportunity, this can be much more free and open to collaborate, to engage, to have, discussions as groups, rather than just saying, I'm here for 2 hours in a trade show hall, come see me.
Yeah.
And I think that only changes if everyone starts to participate in that same mindset, where we're not saying, hey, we're only going to be in this lane and only do this thing. I think that stays stagnant. And over time, the vendors I think that have the most issues with not getting value, it's that mindset that's hurting them, I think, the most.
It's that protect what's yours.
Hmm.
Um, and I know this is probably not the best business quote, but but it's one that I love. We rise by lifting others.
Mhm.
I think it's so applicable in every instance. I've watched in business people that really work to elevate others. There's a confidence that's there that they recognize that it's not us against each other. You know, where our ultimate goal in this industry and what has kept me in this industry for so long is I really believe in the purpose of working towards a better experience for a homeowner that's in distress.
Yep.
You know, that's what it is. This industry is heroes. You
Yes.
walk into a situation where they're not happy to see you. They don't want to see you. They're dealing with stuff that they don't want to be dealing with. And that gets really hard. I mean, I think it's tough. And so that's another thing for core. Like I want to bring experiences that are uplifting and that provide an exciting time for people who so often are facing people who are in devastation, you know?
Mhm.
And so there's many things, but the main thing for me is we all should come back to the homeowner.
Yep. I agree. And so I was going to add into this conversation as a vendor, don't just go to the vendor hall and that's all you do. This goes into what both of you have both said. Please go to the networking events. Please go to breakfast. Please, like if lunch isn't during when the trade show hall is open, go get lunch and sit down with somebody. Like put yourself out there because this is a relationship-based industry and you're going to have some really good conversations at those events and in those networking moments. Try not to sell all the time. There are some people that you run into them at the parties and they're still trying to sell you there. Like, let's try to maybe not do that. Have fun, like let your hair down a little bit, have some good
Get to
conversations.
know people. Get to know
Yes.
people. There's
They
so
will,
many interesting people in this industry.
and they
So,
will come back around to your booth later. Like if you get that relationship going, like Ryan, if I maybe was chatting with you at uh a reception one night, they might come back around as they're walking the trade show floor and be like, "Oh yeah, we talked last night." Like, and then they might come back and talk to you. Just getting that relationship going could bring somebody to your booth. So I know that
Agreed.
that's the always be selling is a mentality, but anyway, yeah.
I think it's just a different tactic to what your point is. Like the relationship building is a form of selling. It's just a softer form. And I think if your intentions are true, people want to do business, with you. So I
Mhm.
don't think it's always about the hard sell. It's sometimes about the long game and
Yep.
just building. This industry is about building relationships at
Mhm.
its core.
100%.
No pun intended to Beth.
thanks for
Yeah.
love
Okay,
it.
so these events are August 3rd, starting with the PSA user conference to the collective starting on the 6th and running through the 8th. So Beth, actually Ryan, I'm going to toss this one to you first. I'd love for
Sure.
both of you to give a couple highlights of what's going to happen at your part of these two events kind of coming together a little bit. So a couple events from the user conference, highlights.
So our one of our highly sought after events, I mentioned it before, is the roundtable, which is just an open forum that users, non-users can come forward and provide feedback, engage in discussion of best practices, and really just ask for, hey, I have a challenge with this item in the industry. Has anyone solved this problem? Right? And to that point about lifting others up, Beth, I think as a core, this industry wants to help people, right?
Mhm.
Whether that's the homeowner, the neighbor next door, your competitor across the street. If given the chance, people are intentionally good and given the opportunity would want to share and collaborate. And I think that's something that we try and promote at our event. Certainly, another thing that I would say stands out from a lot of like technical user conferences is that everybody gets hands-on. So you can come to our event, whether you're a user or not, you can log into the system, you can follow along, you can take notes, you can share ideas with the neighbor next to you, right? As a way of again trying to create, these ideas of creating process and procedure and what works for you may not work for someone else type opportunities. And then, of course, for us, it's always about engaging with the frontline user. We are a tech company at heart. We are not a restoration contractor. We're not a frontline user. So the only way we can hear what people need is by reaching out and asking the question,
Mhm.
right? And I think so few events either give the opportunity or even ask the question as to like, what do you need? What do you want? How can we help? Right? And a lot of them focus on this idea of here's a message, listen to that same message as Beth said year over year. They just won't come back. If there's not anything in it for them that they feel they're progressing, whether it's through education or best practice or networking, if there's not something for them to take, they don't see the value coming back the next year.
Yep.
That made me think of just what I think is so important is like having the growth mindset versus fixed mindset. You know, when you are, that's what you see, I think, with people who tend to come and find a lot of things wrong. They live in a very fixed mindset of what it's supposed to be. And I think keeping that growth mindset is so important. And then it's our job as, you know, facilitators of an event to make sure that we're keeping the content, you know, ahead of the curve and, you know, just cutting edge so that people really do feel like they're staying ahead and continuing to move forward and grow.
Mhm. Yep. Agreed. Okay, so Beth, a
Okay.
couple highlights. I was thinking of all the things that's happened at the collective in the last 5 years. I mean, you've had big Buddhas and raves and white parties and
Silk
tattoos.
aerialists over the pool. We have had, you never know what we have up our sleeve. I'm not
Oh,
going to give all that away
oh,
this
yeah,
early.
don't.
We do obviously have some big things coming, but I will definitely highlight today kind of the biggest change, which I've touched on, but just to reiterate, is we will have the immersive trade show experience. So it'll give vendors a lot more opportunity to really be in control of their time and how they use it. They'll be able to we're going to have little custom flip charts that kind of give them gone to the bathroom, gone to lunch, be back in an hour, you know, leave a note, whatnot, so that they can control that engagement. So we're excited about that. And as well as the streamlining the boost, it's going to make for a clean experience and help on costs, freight costs and things such as that. So we're excited about that. We obviously are going to have the big parties and the meditation room and the IVs and the things that just kind of have become part. Sunrise yoga. We're going to add sound bath this year. I met with a girl about it recently. It's fascinating. So that's going to be something that's added this year. But in terms of like keynotes and content, we'll announce our keynote at the beginning of the year. But I do want to really quickly encourage anybody that's listening that is interested in presenting or being considered for a breakout to make sure you not subscribe, submit so that you can be part of our selection process, which we're hoping to wrap up by the end of the year. So we'll have a full agenda for you shortly after the new year. So if you are interested in speaking at a breakout, please check out our Facebook or LinkedIn. There's links for you there to get that in.
Perfect. Okay. So yeah, so for people who are listening, you can go to canamsys.com. So SYS is what that ends up being. And you can find information about their events under their resources, or you could go to the Collective by Core to find out more about the collective. You can also find links to both on CNR's event calendar, and there's navigation right at the top of the CNR homepage to find that. Please rely on our events calendar. I know a lot of people do. And if you're trying to figure out what's going on, that is a good place to find easy links to different events happening in the industry and different dates and things like that as you plan out your year. So, all right, anything that either of you want to add before we wrap it up?
I'll definitely throw out a quick plug for our early bird. We have really marked it down this year. We're $6.95 from now till December 31st. So get those tickets bought before December 31st. Once January 1 hits in, the price will be $9.95. We do have one ticket price this year. We're not splitting it up based on all the different, if you're a corporate or if you're a member, if you're an affiliate, we're one ticket price this year. So make sure you jump in and get that $6.95, and we're excited to see everybody there this year, and we'll have a lot of good things planned for you.
Perfect. Ryan?
Perfect. Yeah, so same. We're holding our early bird till the end of the year, so December 31st. Again, what Beth pointed out is we are doing a call to action for presenters. Again, vendors, non-vendors, industry experts, if they want to come and speak in front of the audience, we will be taking submissions this month. That's November. Till the end of the month, and then we'll send out our selections as to who made the cut. And then coming early in 2025, we'll have an official agenda out, which will get people kind of excited about the theme and who's going to be there and the different tracks that we're going to hold. So just stay tuned for more information.
Stay tuned. And hopefully the two of us will be back. The three of us will be back sharing more information as it all gets closer and talking more about collaborations. And I'd be curious if there's anybody that wants to know anything about events or wants insight or whatever, reach out to one of us. We could talk about it on another podcast in the future because that'd be fun. There's a lot with events.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. I look forward to chatting further and both of your events.
Thanks.
Sounds great. Thanks, Michelle.
For more Restoration Today and the latest news, visit our website, cnrmagazine.com, and find the latest episodes of the Restoration Today podcast on your favorite podcasting platform.